In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the exact strategy that has been making me $500 to $1,000 a day consistently in the markets. This strategy sets up every single day within the first 2 hours of market open. It's simple and repeatable, and the best part is it requires no bias. So with that being said, I'm going to break down step by step exactly how to execute this strategy properly. And I'm going to be showing you guys real trades that I took in real time. So before I get into some of the trades that I ended up taking in real time, I want to talk about the 4 main steps on how to execute this strategy properly. And step number 1 is identify the key levels on the 15-minute time frame. So the reason why I love using the 15-minute time frame is because it's very close to the 1 and 5-minute chart. So if we're scalping or we're day trading and we're trading on the 1 and 5-minute time frames, right, your higher time frames and your best bet that you're going to be looking for is on the 15-minute time frame. If we have a daily chart, right, it's going to be very far away from a 1-minute time frame. It's very hard to have a daily bias and execute on the 1-minute time frame. And the reason being is because the time frames are very far apart. Whereas if you're on the 15-minute time frame, it is fairly close to the 1-minute time frame. And it's a lot easier to execute on the 1 and 5-minute time frames if our higher time frame thesis is on the 15-minute time frame. So the key levels that we're going to have marked out, as always, is going to be your previous day highs and your previous day lows. So I can mark this out, which is your previous day highs, and I also have marked out your previous day lows as well. And these levels are levels that I mark out every single day. The reason being is because there's a lot of liquidity resting above and below these key areas. So I always have these levels marked out no matter what time frame that I'm on, and I like marking these out on the 15-minute time frame. We can also mark out other swing highs and other swing low key points as well, but the main thing that we're going to have marked out here is your previous day high and your previous day low. And of course, this is done in your New York session from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day. And now let's go on to step number 2. And step number 2 is identify the first candle of New York session. So we had our previous day, and now what we have is our after hours and pre-market. So after hours happens from 4 a.m. all the way to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now we're back into the regular session, which will start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what I'm going to do is identify my first candle. So I'm going to mark out the candle range high and the candle range low. This can be done on the 1-minute time frame, 5-minute time frame, or the 15-minute time frame. So depending on what time frame that you're on, you can mark out the opening range on the 1, 5, or 15-minute time frame. And this is done on the first candle of New York session open, as I mentioned, which is at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day. So a lot of people ask me the exact time. Depending on where you live, market opens at different times, but 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when New York opens. So once we have the first candle marked out of New York session, what we're going to be doing is waiting for the break above, retest of your opening candle range high for continuation towards the upside. If we're bearish, we're going to be looking for the break, retest of your opening candle range low for continuations towards the downside. And now let's go on to step number 3. Now we're on step number 3, and what we want to do is wait for the break of the opening range. So as you can see right here, what we have marked out is your opening range high and your opening range low. So in this case, what we have here is a 5-minute chart, and we can mark this out. 5-minute chart, and you can see right here on the right hand side is a 1-minute chart. We actually have 5 candles. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3 candles, 4 candles, 5 candles. So 5 1-minute candles makes up 1 5-minute candle. So what we can do is mark out the opening range high, mark out the opening range low, and now what we want to do is wait for the break above, retest, continuation towards the upside, or a break underneath your opening candle range low on the 5-minute for continuations towards the downside. So now let's go on to step number 4. And now we're on to step number 4, which is the retest of our opening range. So what we want to do is mark out our opening range high on the 5-minute time frame. As you can see right here, I'm going to count the candles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see right here, this is going to be your opening range high on the 5-minute time frame. You can also mark out your opening range low on the 5-minute time frame as well. not really valid since we have a push towards the upside. But you can see right here what we're going to mark out is our opening candle range on the 5-minute time frame. What you can see as well is we have a big push towards the upside with displacement. So you can clearly see that we're in a bullish uptrend. Price is now coming back down to retest this key area, which is our opening candle range high on the 1 and the 5-minute time frame. So you can see price coming back to retest this key area. This is where we're going to be looking for entries, right? This is our key area, our 5-minute opening range. This is where we can look to enter in price. Our stop in this case is just going to be a break underneath this candle. So once price shows that buyers are stepping in off this candle, our stop can be a break underneath this key area. And our targets in this case can be a push all the way back towards high of day. So this is where our targets can be. And what I always look for every single time when I look for a trading opportunity, I'm looking to risk a minimum of a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. So if I'm risking $100, I'm looking for a minimum of $200. And what I really want to see, reaction off this key area, and I'd like to see this push back towards the upside with the overall market. Now, since we have a gist of how this strategy works, let's put this all together. So now what we can do is put this all together. So on the left-hand side, what I have is your New York session. I'm on the 15-minute time frame in this case. So what I can have marked out is your previous day highs, and I can also mark out your previous day's lows, as you can see right here. And then in the after hours and pre-market, you can see we have some consolidation, as you can see. And then in the New York session, what we're going to do is mark out our opening range. So we're going to mark out our opening range candle. As I mentioned, this could be a 1, 5, or 15-minute time frame. And what we're going to be doing, looking for the break above, retest, continuation towards the upside. If it breaks underneath, we're going to be looking for the retest of your opening candle range low for this continued push towards the downside. Both these scenarios, right, if we ended up playing towards the upside, we'd be looking for a 1 to 2. And our targets in this case would be your previous high day or a 1 to 2. And our targets towards the downside would be your previous day's low or a 1 to 2, depending on which one hits first. So with this being said, let's go on to some of the rules that I look for when trading this strategy. So some of the rules I have when executing this strategy is number one, marking out the first candle of New York session, right? Depending on where you live, it's going to be a different time for everyone. But for me personally, it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is when the stock market opens for the New York session. And I only take trades between 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. So I only trade for the first 2 hours of market open when it comes to this strategy, just because this is the best time to trade, right? There's the most volatility, there's the most liquidity. So you really only want to be taking trades in between these key areas. Next, the opening range can be on the 1, 5, or 15-minute time frame. So these are the best time frames to use the opening range. I personally love the 1 and 5-minute. I don't use the 15-minute as much, but these are the only time frames that you should be using the opening range candle on. Another one, more confluences, the higher the probability. As you know, having the opening range by itself can be very powerful, but if you combine it with other confluence as well, such as key levels, right, previous day levels, potential order blocks, and you have other confluence such as relative strength or relative weakness as well, it can allow you to have a lot higher probability trade and allow you to potentially hold your trades for a little bit longer as well. And then for the risk to reward ratio, I always look for a minimum of a 1 to 2. So that means that for every $100 that I risk, I'm looking for a $200 gain. As I mentioned earlier, this is what I like to look for. You don't have to look for a 1 to 2. Maybe you like having a higher win rate and you like having a lower risk to reward ratio, or you like having a higher risk to reward ratio and a lower win rate. For me personally, I always look for a minimum 1 to 2 when I look to take trades. With this being said, now let's go on to some of the examples that I took in real time. Alrighty, so we're on my first example here on Apple, and I want to start off by saying that every single example that I'm about to show you, I took in real time. I'm also going to be showing you some of my live trading examples here in a second. So right here, you can see we're on the 15-minute time frame on Apple, and what we're doing is making a mini downtrend. As you can see right here, we're making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. And what we want to have marked out in this case is your previous day's low. So we can draw this out, mark out your previous day lows. We can also mark out your previous day highs as well. And now we can go on to the 5-minute time frame and play out the tape coming into market open. As we play out the tape, You can see that coming into market open right off the bat, we're gravitating underneath your previous day lows. So in this case, we're underneath your previous day's low. Now what we can mark out is your 5-minute opening range. So you can see your 5-minute opening range coincides with your previous day lows. You can also mark out the low of the 5-minute range candle. And now what we can do is go on to the 1-minute time frame. So you can see that we're now on the 1-minute time frame. We have our opening candle range low marked out. We also have our opening candle range high. And what we want to be looking for now is the break underneath your opening candle range low and a retest of this level for continuations towards the downside. So now you can play out the tape. So now you can see we finally have that continued push towards the downside. We're breaking underneath your 5-minute opening range now. What we'll be doing is looking for the retest off this 5-minute opening range for this continued push towards the downside. So right here, you can see on Apple, we're having a nice little reaction off our 5-minute opening range. We can have our stop just to break above. And now what we can look to target is a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio towards the downside. So now let's play out the tape. And you can see right there, Apple ended up having a super nice reaction off our 5-minute opening range. And we end up having a nice push towards the downside for a very solid win on the day. Now let's go on to the next example that I have. So now you can see we're actually on the next day here on Apple. The previous day, we end up having a nice 5-minute opening range towards the downside. You can see we're still in a clear downtrend on the 15-minute time frame. Now what we can do is mark out your previous day's low, and now you can go into the 5-minute time frame and play out the tape. So you can see right off the bat, Apple is pushing underneath its previous day's low. So now what we can do is mark out our 5-minute opening range once again. We can mark out the high, and now we can mark out the low. And now what we want to do is go into the 1-minute time frame. Now we're on the 1-minute time frame. What we want to see is the break underneath your 5-minute opening range, retest of this key area for this continued push lower on Apple. So now right here, you can see that we're getting the break underneath your 5-minute opening range. We have this key area marked out. We can also mark out this 1-minute order block as well. So what we'll be doing is looking for the retest of your 1-minute order block in combination with your 5-minute opening range as well for this continued push towards the downside. So you can see that price is tapping into our key area at this 945. That's where I go in short with a stop just to break above this key order block. And I'm looking to target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio towards the downside. And now we can play out the tape. So as you can see right there, we end up having a super nice reaction off our 1-minute order block in combination with the 5-minute opening range as well. Price ended up coming towards the top of the order block, but we never closed above this order block. So I still maintain the trade, and we end up having a nice scalp position towards the downside for a nice 1 to 2 risk reward ratio on the day. Now let's go on to the next example that I have. So now we're on my next example here, and we're on Tesla. And if we're on the 15-minute time frame, I would say in this case, we're fairly neutral, right? The key levels that we're going to have marked out is your previous day highs, which is all the way back here. We can also mark out your previous day's lows as well. So in this case, we're fairly neutral coming into Tesla on this day. But what we do have in the pre-market is a big pop. The reason being it was because this was news. This was a CPI day. So intraday wise, right after this big pop, we're leaning a little bit more bullish towards the upside. But what we're going to do is just mark out our opening range on the first 5-minute candle, and we'll look to try and trade this either back up towards your previous day highs or down towards your previous day lows. So now let's head on to the 5-minute time frame, and we can play out the tape. So right here, you can see I have the first 5-minute candle played out, and what we can do is mark out our opening candle range high. We can also mark out our opening candle range low as well. Now we can go on to the 1-minute time frame. So now that we have the first 5-minute opening range played out, what I'll be looking for is the break underneath with continuation for the downside, or I'll be looking for the break above your 5-minute opening range for this push back up towards the upside on Tesla. Now let's play the tape. So right here, you can see that we ended up pushing towards the downside, but it quickly got bought back up. Now we're gravitating towards the upside. And so far, not really showing signs of reactions. What I'd like to see is more displacement if we're going to look to take a trade on Tesla. So you can see right here, finally, we're showing some nice reaction off our 5-minute opening range in combination with their pre-market highs as well. So we can actually mark out this whole general area. Now, if we kind of flip back onto the 5-minute time frame really quickly, you can see that price is now having a strong candle close above your 5-minute opening range. So that's where we can be looking for long positions on Tesla. So if we keep playing out the tape here, So right here, you can see that on Tesla, we're having a super nice reaction off our 5-minute opening range. We have our nice couple candles right here as well. And now we have our confirmation candle when we close back above our previous candle. This is where we can go long with a stop just to break below. And now what we can look to target is high of day or a 1 to 2 towards the upside. So we can look to target a 1 to 2. Now we can play out the tape. And you can see right there, Tesla ended up having a super nice reaction off her 5-minute opening range. What we did in this case was wait for displacement. Also on the 5-minute time frame as well, we end up having that nice strong candle close above this key level in combination with your pre-market high as well. And that's why we had that nice push towards the upside on Tesla. Now let's go into the live session that I had for this day. So coming into today, my top watch is going to be Tesla. This is the higher time frames, kind of this wedge pattern, multiple touches, as you can see right here. We also have similar thing to yesterday. Now what I like to see is the reclaim of a key level. So yesterday we ended up dropping towards the downside later into the day, but today with CPI, a little bit of a pop. What I like to see is the reclaim, break of this trend line and the reclaim over 414. If we break above this area, right, hold, this is looking good for this continued push back up towards your previous day high and above. So that's what I'll keep an eye out on Tesla. If you can get above, really now it's going to be your pre-market high, this general area, which is your 414. I like this for a pushback towards the upside. This one higher time frame, we still have the run up. Higher time frame looks good with CPI, and then of course Trump's coming into office as well. So 414, this could be my main watch on Tesla. As you can see right there, I talked about my main watch coming into the day is going to be Tesla, based off of the wedge pattern, based off of the news events that we've had as well. Now what we'll be looking for is basically any sort of opening range break or key levels that are going to be looking to trade Tesla back towards the upside. Yeah, Tesla, you like to see hold this area, basically your pre-market high and then your 5-minute opening range. So you like to see this area hold on Tesla for continued push. If it floats above this area, then there's going to be continuation. So we're in a very key inflection point on Tesla. Yeah, so with Q's kind of rejecting out this pre-market high, you want to see this Tesla hold. Tesla so far is trying to hold this basically 412, 5-minute opening range with your basically pre-market highs, and then you don't want to keep an eye on Apple as it's pulling back as well. No, I really like Tesla. Yeah, higher time frames good. I end up picking up the 415s on the higher time frames. If we can get back above 415 plus the trend line break now with the Q's reclaim, this one has a clear shot. If we can get above 414, this one can move back up towards previous high day. So yeah, you can see right there, I ended up just picking up some Tesla calls right off your opening range on the 5-minute time frame. This was your opening range in combination with your pre-market highs as well. You see the Q's, the key area for the Q's was your previous high of day as well. So if the Q's can reclaim, Tesla's the one that's going to show the most relative strength. So my risk on Tesla was just a break underneath, and now is looking for continuations above hive day and above. Now, what I like to see on Tesla now is the flip. So basically right here, now we can get above, and I like to see something like this happen back up towards your previous hive day. Yeah, with Q's reclaiming here, I would give Tesla, like, if any day you want to kind of hold on to it a little bit longer, take some profits, but if we can close above 414, this one has a clear shot back up towards previous day high. At least 418 and then potentially previous day high. Yeah, Q's popping here as well. So Q's, I expect the trend. So Q's, Tesla, Apple, they're all still intact. As I mentioned, Tesla, this one 418 and then 422. But this one higher time frame break. Make sure to take some up, but I'm going to leave more room on this one, just based off the higher time frames. Next level is you can look at the scale is basically this 418 as it comes up. So yeah, Tesla ended up having a super nice reaction right off our 5-minute opening range that we ended up talking about, with Q's reclaiming your 514 as well. That's why we're having this continued push back towards the upside. Now what I like to see is just continuation higher on Tesla. So yeah, really after that, Tesla was just consolidating and then eventually ended up gravitating towards the upside. But it was a super solid entry off our 5-minute opening range. I ended up maintaining this one on the higher time frames as well. And we end up having this push back up towards your previous high day. So now let's go on to the last example that I have for us today. Now we're on my last example that I have for us today. We're on Apple here, and you can see on the 15-minute time frame, key levels that we're going to mark out as always is going to be your previous day's high. We can also mark out your previous day's lows as well. What I like to see is really the reaction around these key areas. Now let's go on to the 5-minute time frame and play out the tape. You can see that right off the bat within the first 5 minutes, we're already gravitating above our previous day highs. So in this case, what we can mark out is your opening candle range high. We can also mark out our opening candle range low as well. And now what we like to see is the break above on the 5-minute time frame. And what we can be looking for is this continued push towards the upside on Apple. So now let's play out the tape. So right here, now what you can see is we have our 5-minute range marked out. Also a down close candle, which is an order block. So we can drag this over. And now what we like to see is the retest of this 5-minute opening range for this continued push towards the upside on Apple. So you can see that Apple is coming back to retest our 5-minute opening range. Also our nice 1-minute order block as well. This is where we can go look long. And our stop in this case is just going to be a break below. And what we can target is a 1 to 2 towards the upside. Now you can play with the tape. And you can see right there, Apple ended up having a super nice reaction right off our 5-minute opening range in combination with our 1-minute order block as well. And we ended up taking this for a nice 1 to 2 towards the upside. Now let's go on to the live session that I have for this day. On Apple, what you want to have marked out is your previous day highs. And then you also want to have marked out your 228. So as long as it maintains your 228, you're going to see this push back up towards your previous day highs, or you're going to be looking for the previous day highs and this continuation high as well. So you can see right there on Apple, what I have marked out is your previous day high. As I mentioned, what we'll be doing is looking for the hold of your 229 for continuation, or the break above your previous day highs for that continuation towards the upside. Yeah, right there, NVIDIA just hit your previous day lows. That would have been the opening play. Now for NVIDIA, you kind of expect a little bit of reaction on your previous day lows. If it gets underneath the previous day lows, which is 116.83, you're going to see a little bit more downside here on NVIDIA. If it gets underneath your 116, which is your previous day lows. As for Apple, you can see this one continue to show some strength. 5-minute plus this 1-minute order block 234. 12 is going to be the key level there to keep an eye on. So yeah, as you can see right there, I just talked about Apple being your key level, being your 234, 5-minute opening range in combination with your 1-minute order block as well. You can see the relative strength compared to the Qs. The Qs is pushing towards the downside. Apple is heading towards the upside. So what we'll be doing is looking for any sort of pullbacks or this continued push back towards the upside on Apple. Yeah, so right now we like to see Apple so far with the Qs bouncing here. We'll see if Apple can pull back, any sort of pullback down towards this 5-minute opening range and this 1-minute order block as well. If not, then we'll just kind of wait to see what happens, see if Apple ends up gravitating towards that 237. Yeah, keep an eye on Apple here. It's pulling back. Well, let's see the reaction that we have off this 1-minute order block and this 5-minute opening range as well. Keep an eye on Apple. You can be looking at the 237.50s, or you could be looking at the 235s. Yeah, I ended up taking some Apples, the 237, just risking out that swing low. So as you can see right there, I really like the reaction on Apple off your 5-minute opening range, 1-minute order block as well. You can see we put in that hammer stick candle. Now I entered in on the Apple puts on that candle close, risking just underneath the swing low, and I'm looking for this continued push back towards the upside on this ticker. Yeah, I'm going to take 25 off at this high, but I like to see really with the Qs now, this next level, which is at 230, and that push above. Yeah, now what you like to see, yeah, closed above. You like to see a push up here. As long as it maintains now high day, this one 237 is in picture. QQQ, the next key level on the Q is going to be your previous high day. Yeah, if you look at the Apple 5-minute, this is where you can maintain now on the 5-minute time frame. Apple actually only has one down close candle on the 5-minute, but that order block is not going to be used as basically support if you go into the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, so now with Qs in a key spot, basically this is the area that I want to see hold for continuation. I like to see Qs hold basically this key area, which is now you're going to be 1-minute opening range. Apple, I'd like to see it as long as it maintains now your 235. So that's going to be key for me. As long as it maintains this, I like to see this continue push towards upside. So yeah, you can see right there, all I was looking for now is the hold of your 5-minute opening range on the Qs, which it did end up holding. Apple, I'd like to see the hold of your key levels as well, as long as you maintain now your 235, right? I do expect this to gravitate towards your 237 and above. So yeah, you can see super solid trade on Apple with the Qs pushing towards the upside, holding our retest level. Apple end up holding our key levels very nicely as well. And now we're having this super solid push towards our 237 and above. Apple ended up gravitating towards that final target where I scaled my full position up at 238, and it being a super solid day on Apple. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, I appreciate it if you guys drop me a like and sub. If you do want to live trade with me every single day, the link is in the description below, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video. Peace.